Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. While the government is grappling with an economic crisis of clearly it's a difficult time for Pakistan as far as economy is concerned, and we've seen that the government is making every effort to try to get Pakistan back on ground as far as economy is concerned. But in the wake of all of this is of course the continuing long march. We are also seeing now Sheikh Rashid Saab saying that it is likely to reach Pakistan on the 25th. Along with this is of course the guidelines that the Lahore High Court has given, the Islamabad High Court has earlier given on what is allowed as far as the march is concerned. It's supposed to be relegated to certain areas. It's supposed to be, it's not supposed to enter D-Chalk. All of those things are the red zone, so to speak. All of those things are also in the background. We are also going to be looking at, of course, the courts now saying that it is up to the government as far as dealing with this crisis is concerned. The government also maintaining that they will not allow any unlawful protests to take place, whereas maintaining that they do not want to take away from the right to protest. All of that today on Perspective. What is the likely political scenario to be, of course, also in the wake of the allegations as far as the Toshakhana is concerned, and also in the wake of all of those findings and all of the revelations that have come to light regarding the Toshakhana as far as the opposition, mainly the former Prime Minister himself is concerned. All of that today on Perspective. We have with us Rafiq Rajwana Saab, who is a former Governor, Punjab. Thank you for joining us from the PMLN. We also have with us Mazhar Abbas, who is a senior journalist. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Niaz Murtaza, who's a political analyst. Thank you so much for joining us today. We also have with us Zahid Kushkori, who's an investigative journalist. Thank you for being with us. Zahid Saab, before I go to Rafiq Saab, I want to, in your opinion, as far as the Toshakhana case is concerned, the allegations that have come to light, as far as the former Prime Minister is concerned, we've also seen an attempt to refute those allegations recently. And there has been a back and forth exchange. How do you look at that whole scenario now? As far as the case itself is concerned, as far as those allegations are concerned, as far as the rebuttal of the PTI and the former Prime Minister himself is concerned?
I'm grateful for this opportunity. This is the right time to bring all the facts on the record. As a reporter, this is our job as a journalist to be honest with the job. I would take these facts point-wise. Number one, the position taken by PTI top leadership and their different leaders, quite the facts coming on the record according to the official document prepared by Cabinet Division. I don't want into more details due to secrecy matters, but the facts I fetched so far are quite different. Number one, serious questions are arising on Prime Minister declaration, because if we just have a geoforensic of all 4 years during his regime, the former Prime Minister Imran Khan, look, in the past 3.5 years, Imran Khan assets raised 250% from 2018. He owns around 54 million assets in total worth, and it's gone up to 142 million according to his own declaration. It means that 11 around 10 crore, 100 million rupees.
On that note, I'll come back to you, and I want to talk more about whether assets itself, an increase in assets now as far as the change of law is concerned, and whether that will have implications on.
I was coming to that, but
right, I want to come back.
Argument.
Let me come.
Sure, please.
Okay, please go ahead.
The one important thing that Imran Khan said that he changed the law about this 20% to 50%. One more important thing, that this idea, the policy, I brought the fact that according to the Cabinet Division document, that the disposal of gifts policy was prepared by the then Prime Minister Shahid Khan Abbasi in May 2017, This idea was floated, but practically in October 2017 it brought up to the domain, but it could not be passed by the cabinet due to certain reason. But
you're
after
saying
that,
you're saying that factually, you're saying that the increase which the PTI has claimed, according to the presser that was held by, we saw earlier on by PTI leaders.
Imran Khan purchased this with 50%, right?
Yes.
Interesting thing is, in last week of August, soon after Prime Minister Imran Khan took over as Prime Minister, the cabinet moved the summary about this policy to raise this from 20% to 50%.
Okay. No, so they take, but isn't it true that the PTI takes credit for this? They say that but you're saying factually it's incorrect.
Factually, the situation is that they passed the policy, is true, but the policy paper...
They were initiated by Shahid Khan Abbas.
Yes, initiated the idea, the policy prepared by them, and then the most important thing is the policy paper and the file have been on the table of the then Prime Minister Imran Khan for 3 long months, and during this period, deliberately, it looks like that Prime Minister purchased 22 most precious gifts received by him through different heads of the state, with a total cost of 108 million rupees.
But what
and
was
he
the law
paid
then?
only 20%.
20%. Okay,
And deliberately he did not, perhaps, it looks like that passed the policy because he was supposed to pay 50% and then he did it. And the most important, the controversy is now on the precious watch. It was taken as a gift on September 9, 2018, and the policy was at the table at that time. And then again, important thing, as a head of the state, that 3 proposals were given to the Prime Minister about this disposal of gifts. 2 clauses were rejected by the then Prime Minister. The one clause was this: these gifts could be auctioned twice in a year, for the general public. And this clause was rejected by the then Prime Minister according to this document, that the spirit of these gifts and given by the head of the states, and
they were given to heads of state, so they've So you're
by
saying
bringing them into public domain, and he brought it and given into public domain.
Okay, fair enough. You're saying so before I go to Rafiq Saab, basically the rejection, it seems that the reason for rejection was prima facie that he said that those were given from heads of state to heads of state, and therefore they had a sanctity. They were supposed to be taken, of course, to the heads of state. So they should be, relegated
sanctity
to
and
that,
respect and dignity for these
to that particular
gifts.
person, and therefore should not be thrown into the public domain. That's what
general public.
Right, and that seems not to have been done. Let me come back to you, Ji Rafiq Saab. Ji Rafiq Saab, can you hear me?
Yes.
I want to move a little bit away from, we are discussing the Toshakhana, of course, but otherwise also, as far as economy is concerned, there are serious challenges as far as Pakistan is concerned. We are seeing Dar Saab also, there has been this attempt at, trying to control the rise of dollar, which, in a sense has steadied. And we are still looking at, overall the situation with the economy, our exchange with the IMF, all of those things. In that kind of a background, there is a march, there is instability. How do we, in your opinion, how do we isolate political instability from economic instability then?
Thank you so much. I thought that I will have to say a few words on Toshakhana, but you have straight away put another question, bypassing the
If you'd like to say anything on Toshakhana, please go ahead.
Okay. Anyhow, on Toshakhana, I'll say one sentence, that it is unbecoming of a Prime Minister of a Muslim country who was given precious gifts by a Muslim country who is always helping us. And now the ball is rolling in the court of Mr. Imran Khan, and he has to justify everything and nothing else. Even they raise hue and cry, every former minister is raising hue and cry. They have to justify the things which are coming on the media and which are coming on the record, and particularly as Mr. Gishpuri was saying, and otherwise it's so commonly known that the rules amended later before purchasing these gifts, those were amended during the regime of Mr. Imran Khan, and he, instead of paying 50% of the gift, though even purchasing was not good, and then he paid 20% and rejected the clause which was being amended that it should be all the so gifts received should be put to open auction. Now I'll come to the economy. The question is that the definitely economy is really in a very bad shape. It's a constant burden on the economy since for the last 4 or 5 years. The delayed dialogue with IMF by the then government, and then the so many other things, because they were first claiming that we have a team before elections of 2018. They were saying we have a very good team, we have every planning and everything is in our basket and we will deliver to the government, deliver to the people. But unfortunately, they could not deliver anything, and keeping that, taking that baggage along when the new government came after a constitutional step of no confidence within the parliament, which is purely a constitutional act. We are striving very hard to come out of this, but unfortunately, the price hike in the inputs of the industries, input of other raw material, and the rising price of this dollar. I think that as a student of economics, that when we talk about the dollars, we have to increase our exports.
Okay.
Our exports are actually our earning. The remittance of repatriates, overseas Pakistanis, is a helping hand, and it's quite helpful to us. But I personally feel that is not our income. That is the kindness of the overseas who send their money to their parents, to their relatives, and for other purposes to Pakistan. We have to increase our export. Now we come to the political instability, which is very well connected with the economic stability. Recently, there were about 2 or 3 prime ministers in United Kingdom. There was vote of no confidence, but there was nothing on the street. It went smooth, it went comfortably, and the economy was going smooth, and the country was smooth, and the country is now going very well and smooth. Here, after the constitutional step, what steps have been taken by Imran Khan Sahab in creating political instability, attacking all the organs of state, including the institutions, even the armed forces of Pakistan, and he's still on. And his demand for the date of election and fresh election is unjustified because that is illegal. If he had to raise this demand, he should have been in the parliament instead of going out and submitting the resignation.
Right, let me come back to you, Rajwana Sahab. We have with us Dr. Niaz Murtaza ji. Niaz Sahab, you know, of course, we've been looking at, in your opinion, the political scenario at this time. It's fueled with uncertainty. We are looking at this protest. We are looking at the march. What do you expect now, in your opinion? Of course, we have seen, like I said, Sheikh Rashid Saab say that it's going to reach Islamabad on the 25th. But in your opinion, as far as the overall scenario is concerned, how are you looking at things at this time?
Well, I mean, you know, there's a lot of uncertainty, of course, you know, what shape it's going to take, what size it's going to take, what direction it's going to take, what will be its demands. But I mean, if you look at, you know, the meandering pace with which it's, you know, proceeding towards the Twin Cities, and, you know, the numbers that you see on TV, it doesn't look like, you know, it's going to be a huge threat which cannot be handled. Now, of course,
what do you think is the expectation of the opposition, the PTI, from this march? What do they expect now? You know, considering the numbers, considering the overall scenario at this time, what do they expect? If it comes to Islamabad, then, you know, it will stay in Islamabad. What is the overall scenario once it does reach here then?
Well, I think they're, formally talking about three or four things. One is, early elections. The other thing is, the ability to influence the appointment of the army chief.
But
The
Niyaz
third,
Sahab, early elections, even the former Prime Minister has himself admitted that it's unlikely to
yeah, it's
happen.
very unlikely. I don't think the PTI can achieve any of its aims in terms of army chief appointment or early elections, but it's just how much nuisance, threat, disturbance it causes. That is the only issue. Ultimately, it will have to go back like in 2014, but then, it stayed there for 4 months.
But what
It
do you think there's
delayed.
political gain there? This mobilization, isn't it going to cost the party also in terms of tiring them, their supporters, their support base, trying to mobilize them? I mean, it can have a counter effect here, can
Yeah,
it
I mean,
not?
ultimately, that's what happened in 2014. They just got tired. They were not achieving anything and they looked for an excuse and they went away. But then they still stayed for 4 months. Now, whether they'll stay that long, and it resulted in economic decline. And even if it doesn't achieve its outright demands like early elections, even if it causes a milking of the economy, economic instability, that's still an indirect victory for the PTI, because then the economy will not perform well, and then when it comes to the time of the elections, whenever it happens, then the PMLN will be going before voters with a very weak economy. So that's also the objective. But I don't think they can achieve their immediate formal demands of early elections or the ability to influence, the appointment of the army chief.
Right, let me come back to you. Ji, Zaid Saab, we were talking, I think you are the right person to give us the background of the Tosha Khana and the legal side of things as far as investigative journalism is concerned. So now, as far as the watch is concerned itself, where do we stand? Where does the PTI stand? Of course, the former Prime Minister alluded to the fact that he wants to take legal action. But do you think that, that they clearly, I mean, there has been rebuttal of those allegations also coming from, the PTI?
But actually, it depends on investigators now. The top country accountability bureau started the investigation because it has been investigating two former prime minister as well, particularly about the issues that how these gifts were purchased on different allegation, on different ground. But this seemed to be at one point three aspects of this former prime minister could be investigated. Number one, that how has he got this raise of 250%, because according to his declaration about his assets, that he declared that only this is very interesting aspect, I'm telling you. 16 million he got to purchase this Tosha Khana gifts with price and worth around 8 crore 60 lakh. It means that 16 million only. Otherwise, he has seen a rise of 100 million in his assets, and he also told that around 2 million land he got about his advances, and NAB could ask, and the investigator could ask about this rise out of sudden in his assets in the past 3.5 years, number one. Secondly, he showed about the history that he was paying around 0.2 or 0.3 million as a taxes every year in his entire career.
Right.
But out of sudden, he showed this that it's 9.8 million as a taxes in 1 year. In 2020, he said this. He has seen a rise of 70% in his asset, and investigator could ask him to explain his position, because his party leadership and the party leaders took this position, standing position, that these gifts worth were around 50 million, but he declared about this is only 16 million. So it could be an aspect of declaration, or maybe the declaration, but other standing is that rules he himself rejected according to the documents seen by me of the cabinet, that it's not worthy of about the policy that these gifts received by the head of the state or head of the government or any other constitutional any other persons who hold the constitution position and receive the gifts could not go into public domain publicly to the general public in shape of auction or any other aspect. But on the other hand, he remained the prime minister during this prestigious post as the head of the government. He himself admitted this, that he sold these gifts taken from friendly country head of the state. So on a moral ground, this aspect raises different questions. But what is the perception of this uncalled trends and now the stories in other countries as well? This is a number one position. And secondly, obviously, it also raises question that the policy was on the table, and either these gifts were purchased or obtained or retained before submitting the due process of fees, submitting the value of submitting the deserving money or the credit money under the law, because he himself said that 37 million were paid against these all 89 gifts retained by the then prime minister. This has to be checked out according to the law, that what it happened. Either it was going by the book, rules were followed, and
you're saying further investigation is needed into that.
A fair investigation is needed, not about. I mean, if we go through this very issue we are discussing here, this gift issue has been after 2008 in Pakistan. Overall, if we look into the history, we can see this, that the then Prime Minister Shaukat Aziz was the major beneficiary of these state gifts, because he continued to carry it out and retained around more than 2,000 gifts.
So then this is, once we start investigating, is it going to be retrospective? How is it, as far as the Toshakhana is concerned? And the laws, of course, like you said, the laws have changed from 20 to 50% now in terms of how much.
Actually, this law secondly came out in 2004 in General Musharraf era, and after that in 2011 it saw some sort of amendment when the then Prime Minister Yusuf Raza Gilani was over there, and then in Shahid Khaqan Abbasi era.
So there have been
a longer debate and a perspective on this controversy of gifts, which continues to haunt Imran Khan. It raises question that how state gifts received by our very important persons sitting on constitutional post, how they were treating this, and was there any accountability or registration of all these gifts, because rules categorically seem.
I have to take a break, but Zaid Sahab, if, as I understand, I mean, there are 2 or 3 ways of looking at this. There's one, of course, the legality of it. There's no denying that. Then there's also, of course, the fiduciary duty that, that office itself entails. And then, of course, is how it looks, and whether it's just not something that Rafiq Rajwana Saab said. He said that, it's not something that is seemly. That's another way of looking at it. So there are, a couple of ways in which one can look at this, this whole scenario as far as Toshakhana is concerned. On that note, we'll be taking a short break, and we'll come back to talk more about, as far as the political scenario is concerned, and the likely, as far as things are concerned, what are they where are they likely headed in the next couple of weeks.
Conflict,
crisis,
economy, human rights.
foreign policy.
What are the leaders thinking?
What does the law say?
Who's calling the shots? What's really going on?
Who's right? Is there another answer?
Are we missing something?
Are you paying enough attention? Well, we are.
At The Debate, we cover everything.
We ask all questions
And explore every answer.
Want to know everything about everything? Watch
Watch the debate. only on PTV World.
Right, welcome back. We are talking about the political scenario at this time. Let me go to Rafiq Sahab. Rafiq Sahab, okay, you mentioned that of course it's unseemly, and of course as far as the dignity of the office is concerned, it's not, in your opinion, as it doesn't justify this kind of a flagrant disregard for it's the optics of it are unseemly. That's one way of looking at it. But do you think that this will entail us going back into other when other prime ministers, the Toshakhana overall, and the way it's going to entail a lot of investigation that's going to be retrospective? Or do you think that it's now, as far as the legality is concerned, that is of course going to be the focus of this, and then it will have its political cost for the PTI?
I think that the PTI has to pay political cost for this. And if the better sense prevails on those persons who are blindly following Imran Khan Sahab, then they will realize, and they are realizing now. If you take start from low confidence, then cipher, then long march, then different slogans, then different attributions to different people at the helm of the affairs, even the establishment, and then going back, then taking U-turn, and that's his saying that he is not a leader. A person is not a leader if he doesn't take the U-turn. Anyhow, whether it's a U-turn or it's about turn. Now, this is the situation of about turn. So I think that political cost People's Party has to pay, and the people are now realizing.
PTI, you mean?
Sorry, PTI people, of course, and other people, common people are also realizing that what type of a prime minister was running and ruling our country.
I think that's what's interesting as far as the narrative is concerned. Niyaz Sahab, let me come back to Niyaz Sahab. What Rafiq Sahab is saying, I think that's as far as the narrative of PTI is concerned. Earlier on, a couple of weeks ago, we saw some audios, in which, of course, the cipher issue was discussed, and then now we've seen different, different, what can one call it, a sort of stepping back. Correct me if I'm wrong, as far as the cipher narrative is concerned. And then now we are seeing this Toshakhana revelations which are coming out. Do you think it's going to be a dent in the narrative that has been given out by the PTI, the narrative of honesty, the narrative of dignity, the narrative of there being, this difference in the style of politics, this newness, which is what the PTI is talking about?
Well, the thing is, if it was the USA, you get, almost every week, every 2 weeks, opinion polls which show how popular the president is. And you can see the impact of specific events or policy affecting that. But that's not possible here in Pakistan. But my own hunch is that, people are more concerned, especially the masses, about, bread and butter policy issues, like, what is the inflation, what is the job employment. You've seen that for PMLN, 5 years were spent on, every day there would be a new scandal, even now.
Niyaz Sahab, now, of course, no one's denying the importance of, bread and butter. No one's denying the fact that, of course, that's very important. But were there to be, in your opinion, let me rephrase this, were there to be such a poll in Pakistan at this time, would you say that the narrative will have suffered as far as PTI is concerned? Would you say that the popularity will have receded? How would you look at it?
Well, that's what I'm saying. In the absence of such opinion polls, I can only give my subjective judgment.
Gigi, that's what I'm asking.
Of what affects people, and my position is that, bread and butter issues are more important, especially for the masses. They are so weighed down. And the same thing happened with PMLN. Its popularity wasn't dented by all these stories about, corruption and so on.
But Niyaz Sahab, that's not what they're saying. I mean, that's not the core of okay, of course, as far as economy is concerned, certainly now and then we do hear, and I think I'll go to Mazhar Abbas Sahab on this and I'll come back to you. Ji, Mazhar Abbas Sahab, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Ji, Mazhar Abbas Sahab, we're talking about the narrative of the PTI, which seems to have been incremental to their, the foundation of what they've been saying, as far as their whole narrative is concerned, as far as their popularity is concerned. Don't you think that, that narrative has suffered pursuant to first the audio tapes, now the Toshakhana, the revelations that have come out after these cases? Certainly, bread and butter is important, which is what Nyas Sahab is saying. That, of course, remains important. I'm not denying that. But the core of their movement against this government has not been bread and butter. Isn't that true?
You see, for the last 6-7 months, I mean, what Imran Khan has been stressing is free and fair elections. That is exactly what is his narrative, basically. And that was, and attacking to the government, to his opponents, and now his confrontational politics towards the establishment. Ultimately, so far, I mean, in the last 7 months, he has not been able to achieve a single point. For instance, he was demanding change in the election commission. That demand was not accepted. He was demanding elections in 2022. That demand apparently has not been accepted. He has been demanding changes in the election commission of Pakistan. That has not been achieved. He has been demanding his say in the appointment of the new army chief. That was, obviously it was not accepted. So what he is apparently getting frustrated. And in political movements, you change strategies. That's fine. There's nothing wrong in it. In changing the strategy, in changing the approach to the march. But what I feel is that ultimately he has to give something to his supporters, in order to call off the march. At the end of the day, he has to call off the march. He can't sit there for another 3-4 months. To me, it appears.
So what do you think he's going to tell? What do you think is the story that he's going to tell his people now for calling off the march?
You see, he is now expecting that maybe a new establishment will, whenever it will come in the next few days, he's expecting something better than his relationship with the previous or the present establishment.
Okay.
So that's the only point I believe is that some kind of an assurance he should get for free and fair election. That will give him a face saving, an honorable exit from the present situation. Otherwise,
but Mazhar Sahib, isn't it true that there's no likelihood of an early election?
No, there's no likelihood of early election, but at least, elections may be 1 or 2, 3 months. That is even that is not important today. For what is important today is Imran's future relationship with the new establishment, and that will give him a kind of assurance that the next election will be free and fair. Maybe I can't say, because in next election, it's not only the new establishment, it will also be a new Chief Justice. It will also be a different Supreme Court. And that is one of the reasons why Imran Khan, is stressing the need for early elections. Even, 6 months back or maybe 3-4 months back. So I don't see, except that Imran Khan's supporters and Imran Khan's voter is still with him. That I don't buy stories of the PMLN and the other that his popularity is eroding. Until unless elections, we can't judge whether his popularity has declined or not. But definitely his supporters, his voters definitely wanted that he should get something out of it. After all, for the last 6-7 months, political mobilization, yes. He has been able to win most of the by-elections after his after his government was ousted. But at the end of the day, his focus, his 3, 4, 5 demands. I don't
But
see
Mazhar
none of
Sahib,
the
they've also changed. Let me come back to you if I'm not wrong, Zaid Sahib. Isn't it true that the demands have also been modified, so to speak? I mean, first it was the early election. Now, free and fair. Do you think that there's likelihood of the kind of face saving that Mazhar Sahib is talking about?
Mazhar Sahib is talking about exactly, we pointed out the burning points of overall this political gimmicks, but one important thing is that in this political uncertainty and the poor economy, and it's only the people that suffer because the government could not focus on very important points. They tried, but unfortunately they are not going to take off in a way with the sailing expectation of the people, and that's why this seemed to be a legacy of Imran Khan. Even it showed the worst experience, but Imran Khan has been struggling for the demand which otherwise legally, if we can debate for the sake of discussion here, that this it's a no confidence motion was a legal thing, happened first time ever that he was ousted from the government, and then again this government had the legitimate right to rule the country by I guess 2013, and this is the only reason they are trying to prolong their stay. And Imran Khan wants early election. It's fair enough, but he's bound to keep this momentum up, to keep mobilizing people. This is only his political survival, and that's why he's doing this. And his all of demands. And sometime he was talking about NAB chairman, he was talking about NAB laws. Out of sudden, he went quite mum on this very important issue. He was accusing Chief Election Commission of Pakistan.
Then, the
changing stance could be the strategy of PTI, because he's giving a very new narrative every day to the people, and now he's coming to that very point. But this thing.
But do you think there's going to be? I mean, what kind of face saving is he likely?
I don't see. By the way, as Mazhar was saying this. Because we have around 7 to 8 days to go, and the new Chief of Army Staff would be coming up, and I don't see there would be any more confusion on this very important issue. And that's why Mazhar Sahib pointed out very well that the future of Imran Khan politics and his mobilization with the people and aggressive stance against the government rely and how he was dealing with and continue with the relationship with the top
You're saying that his, okay, let me go to Rafiq Sahib. Rafiq Sahib, do we have Rafiq Sahib? Rafiq Sahib?
Yes.
Ji, Rafiq Sahib, do you think, so as far as the narrative is concerned, as far as, the former Prime Minister's engagement with the people is not so much, do you think it's mobilizing the voter, or is it solely, for the benefit of a certain appointment? How do you look at that?
Actually, I'm recalling and remembering a joke that a servant used to threaten his employer that increase my salary, otherwise I will do something. So he had been demanding that increase my salary, and the employer was not increasing his salary, and he was threatening that otherwise I'll do this. Ultimately, once the employer asked, I will not increase the salary, what will you do? He said, I will continue to serve you on the same salary. Now the question is that Imran Khan Sahib is blowing hot and cold in the same breath. And in legal language we say that he is taking the pleas which are mutually destructive. Once he says it's a cipher, it was a cipher, there was a conspiracy. Now he says, forget it. We want to have good relation, bilateral relation with America. Then he comes with the early elections. Now he says, no problem whenever the elections are held. Now the question is, then he comes on the Chief of Army Staff appointment. Can anybody, any man of common prudence believe this thing? That the Imran Khan will say the PMLN wants to bring a chief of army staff of their own choice who will help them to save their illegal
but
acts.
Niaz Sahab, it's not, I mean, it's not, you know, let me go to Niaz Sahab. Niaz Sahab, the focus, you know, of course, as far as engaging with the voter is concerned, do you agree that that doesn't seem to be the focus as far as PTI or the former Prime Minister is concerned? Is it a show of support? What is it?
Well, I think it is, but the way he is trying to mobilize his voter is very unusual, and it's very much in line with how populists do it. It's not through normal politics of, issues, being in the parliament, raising issues about governance, but it's about creating chaos, controversies, conflicts permanently on an ongoing basis, because, there is not much performance that he can talk about going back to his own era. So, he has to whip up these emotions and fears that, if he's not there, everything is going to fall apart. America is doing a conspiracy. There is this danger, there is that danger. And that kind of politics is difficult to sustain for 1 year. That's why he wants early elections. If he has to go through for 1 year of politics, as you were saying, people will tire out of this high-pitched politics, and his, support will keep going down. That's why he's desperate to have early election, and the more elections are postponed, the chances his popularity will certainly go down.
Right. Unfortunately, we're out of time. Thank you so much for being with us, Rafiq Rajwana Saab. Thank you for joining us. Zaid Gishgori Saab, thank you for being with us. Mazhar Abbas Saab, thank you for joining us. Dr. Niaz Murtaza, thank you for your time. As far as the overall scenario is concerned, certainly, as far as the narrative of PTI is concerned, they will have to now focus on whether the new revelations pursuant to the Tosha Khana, pursuant to the audios, all of those things will leave a dent in their support base, in the kind of narrative that they've been trying to give out to the people. And also, of course, all of this has to be seen in the background of the economic scenario which the government is trying its best to deal with at this time, and whether political instability is a cost we want to pay for economic instability. Thank you so much for joining us today on Perspective.